My boss made a basic mistake, and I felt humiliated. He accused me of being useless and lazy, suggesting I should retire early. I didn't think I'd made a mistake, and I swore to clear my name. My name is James Smith. I'm 55 years old and work as the product planning manager at a major electronics manufacturer. I've been with the company for 37 years, moving between branches and living in company housing, often causing my family inconvenience. I have a wife and 2 independent children. My wife has supported my decisions and relocations without complaint. Now, she works at a drugstore in New York, where we live. I've been at the current headquarters for 5 years, maintaining good relationships with colleagues and clients. 6 months ago, a new boss arrived from the Midwest. He graduated top of his class from a prestigious university and became a director in just 8 years. He's strict and prioritizes speed, often criticizing our cautious approach, which has created a hostile atmosphere. He looks down on me for my high school education and frequent transfers, labeling me as incompetent. He constantly picks on me, even calling me a useless old man. I take my time with proposals to avoid mistakes, but the director dumps mundane tasks on me and pretends to work only when the president is around. My colleagues noticed this, and one even wanted to confront the director, but I stopped them to avoid shifting harassment to others. The director's hostility increased when he demanded a proposal for new air conditioners. The marketing department was still conducting research, and I needed more time. He called me useless, though the deadline was a week away. Meanwhile, I was handling a confidential task, often working until after 11 p.m. My wife, who usually went to bed early, stayed up worried about me. One night, she told me she was worried about my health. I reassured her, though I was exhausted from the heavy workload and the director's constant tirades. After a late night, I went to bed around 2 a.m. The next day, my subordinate Joseph called in sick, so I had to visit an important client, Company A, in his place. This company was special to me as it was my first major contract 30 years ago. Most people I knew there had retired, but I was supposed to explain our new product and finalize the contract. I had reviewed the contract my subordinate prepared 2 days ago. Last night, I found the documents on his desk this morning and took them with me to Comper. I explained to their representative that I was there in place of my subordinate. The meeting went smoothly, and I returned to the office without any issues. I had no idea that an unexpected event would occur after this. The next day, Company A called my subordinate Joseph. I noticed something strange about Joseph's demeanor as he took the call. He was wiping sweat off his brow and repeatedly bowing and apologizing. Feeling suspicious, I approached Joseph after the call ended and heard a shocking story from him. "Joseph, that call seemed to be from Company A. What was it about?" "Well, that is..." Joseph was sweating profusely and looked down as if he found it difficult to speak. "What happened? Tell me honestly." "Actually, they said they want to void the contract." "Void the contract? What does that mean?" I had explained everything clearly yesterday and handed over the contract. My mind was racing with all sorts of thoughts. At that moment, the director walked into the office looking puzzled and spoke up. "Oh, it seems there's a problem." "What happened, James? Please explain properly." The director's tone was unusually polite, which felt strange, but I relayed the contents of the call to him exactly as Joseph had received it. "Company A wants to void the contract. What does this mean? Explain in detail." The director's roar echoed through the office. There was a moment of silence, and I felt everyone's eyes on us. "Since we don't know the details, I'll go apologize to Company A with Joseph," I said. I bowed to the director and hurried to Company A with my subordinate. There, we asked Company A's representative to explain the situation. They said there were discrepancies between what was explained and what was written in the contract, making our company untrustworthy. Therefore, they decided to void the contract and use a competitor's product for their new line. Trust is paramount in business, so they had no plans to do business with us in the future. As I listened to Company A, my mind was in turmoil. How could there be discrepancies in the contract? I had thoroughly reviewed it, and there should have been no errors. My head was spinning with confusion. Devastated, we returned to the office. Back at the company, I went to the president's office to report the situation with Company A. The director was also seated on the sofa. I reported the issue with Company A to the president. Just as the president was about to speak, the director interrupted. My God, such a basic mistake. This is why uneducated people are useless. Looks like you've been shuffled around various branches. A lazy old man who can't even do his job should just take early retirement. I felt an indescribable sense of humiliation at the director's tirade, because I didn't think there was a mistake with the contract. I still didn't understand why the contract's content had changed, but if things continued like this, my subordinate would be blamed. Considering my subordinate's future, I immediately decided I had to take responsibility as the manager. This incident is my fault for submitting the contract to Company A without rechecking it. I deeply regret damaging our relationship with such an important client. I don't know if it will help restore Company A's trust, but I leave my punishment entirely up to you, Mr. President. Beside me, my subordinate was looking down, on the verge of tears. In contrast, the director had a smug, triumphant expression. I understand your feelings. Until we decide on your punishment, you'll be on leave, the president told me. I consoled my crying subordinate, urging them not to blame themselves, and then headed home. My wife noticed that something was off with me and, understanding my feelings, didn't ask me anything that day. 2 days later, I was notified of my dismissal from the company. Losing such a valuable client was a significant loss for the company. I thought being fired was a reasonable decision. However, I felt an overwhelming sense of incompleteness and tightness in my chest, knowing there were many things I hadn't finished at work. When I told my wife about this, her response surprised me. Thank you for quitting your job. What? You might not have noticed, but you were barely sleeping because of all the overtime. If you had continued working like that, you would have collapsed for sure. And remember, I have a qualification as a registered seller, so I can help. Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry for making you worry. I was comforted by my wife's compassion. Yet, I kept questioning myself if this was really okay. Caught between feelings of resignation and frustration, I couldn't sleep all that night. The day after I was fired was Sunday, a day off for the company. I went to my desk to collect my personal belongings. As I sat down in the chair, I let out a deep sigh and reminisced about the enjoyable and challenging times I had experienced at the company. I never imagined I would leave the company like this. Thinking about it brought tears of frustration to my eyes. Finally, I turned on my desktop computer, which I had used for many years. I always kept shortcuts to files on my desktop for quick access. As I looked at the desktop screen, I noticed some deleted files in the recycle bin. This seemed strange to me. I always permanently delete files immediately instead of putting them in the recycle bin. Had someone else used my computer? With that thought in mind, I cautiously opened the recycle bin. The moment I did, I was struck by a thunderbolt of shock. The file was the altered contract format that had been given to Comper. All company contracts were managed on my computer. Could someone have tampered with the contract to frame me? Such doubts raced through my mind. However, very few people knew my password. Why would anyone take such a risk? At that moment, the company's security guard happened to come by on his rounds. I mustered up the courage to ask him. I asked if someone had arrived at the office early the morning I went to explain the contract to Comper. I always worked overtime in the morning because it was efficient with no phone calls. No one else was usually in the office at that time. I had been working late into the night, so I had meticulously checked the company contract the night before. After confirming there were no mistakes, I placed it in a folder on my subordinate's desk and left. If someone tampered with my computer and altered the contract, it must have been early that morning. After hearing the security guard's account, I was certain who the culprit was. I'll never forgive such a despicable act. I vowed to clear my name and crush the person who toyed with my subordinates' feelings. There was one more thing I couldn't understand. That afternoon, I called my former subordinate Joseph to a cafe near the company. He arrived 40 minutes later. He seemed unable to meet my eyes, looking down as if ashamed. "I'm sorry for calling you out on your day off, but there's something I need to confirm with you." "What is it?" "It might just be my imagination, but I need to clear this up. You took a sick day the morning of the company a contract. Were you really unwell?" "Well, that is." It was immediately clear that he was shaken. The coffee cup in his hand was trembling. Something was up. I decided to be direct. "Did someone tell you to take the day off?" "Yes, that's right." My hunch was correct. Someone had exploited my former subordinate's weakness. This person couldn't be allowed to stay at the company. I was determined to take action. The next Monday, the company was buzzing with talk about my dismissal. Most people couldn't believe I had made such a mistake and were defending me. That day was also the quarterly visit of the chairman to the headquarters. In the afternoon, the chairman arrived. All department managers and above gathered in the conference room. When the chairman entered, the murmuring among the employees ceased immediately. The chairman scanned the room and, noticing something was off, spoke up. "Hey, is Manager James off today?" The president replied, "James was fired as of today." "What?" The president began explaining the situation to the chairman, but the chairman's face grew redder by the second. Making matters worse, the director blurted out, "I'm relieved to be rid of that useless old man. He never contributed anything to the company, and he wasn't useful no matter where we transferred him. Serves him right. You were stupid." With that single word from the chairman, the conference room fell silent. "You don't understand anything. Manager James has single-handedly obtained 25 patents for this company. He is our top contributor. No way that old man did that. This time, I was expecting him to deliver on a new assignment I gave him today. So, he wasn't coming in early and staying late because he was incompetent. Of course not. I've never seen anyone as dedicated as him. And did you even check if the issue with Company A was really his fault? For someone as meticulous as him, it's impossible." The conference room fell silent again. At that moment, the conference room door opened. I took a deep breath and stepped in, determined to expose the wrongdoing. "Oh, James, it's been a while." "Chairman, it's good to see you again. I've completed the assignment you gave me. As always, you meet your deadlines. Such a diligent man. And today, I have something important to report to everyone." The conference room hummed with curiosity. "I'm an outsider here now, and I don't have the right to speak, but I can't allow this malicious fraud to go unpunished." "What are you talking about?" The director, looking a bit flustered, spoke up. "Regarding the contract we gave to Company A the other day, my investigation has revealed that it may have been altered by someone within the company." "What?" "That is an unforgivable act," the chairman roared. "Who could it be?" The conference room buzzed with confusion, and the executives exchanged glances. "I know who did it, thanks to the testimonies of the security guard and Joseph. Right, director?" At that moment, I saw the color drain from the director's face. "You forced Joseph to take a day off with a work order to make me the one to go to Company A that day. You arrived at the office early that morning to alter the documents. Knowing my computer password, you accessed the official contract file and created the forged contract. Then you stamped it with the company's seal without authorization and swapped it with the legitimate contract on Joseph's desk. I didn't do anything like that. You took advantage of Joseph's timid nature and pressured him into taking a day off. According to Joseph, he was terrified and thought he might have unknowingly helped with your misdeeds. I won't forgive you for putting my innocent subordinate in such a situation. But there's no concrete evidence. Nonsense. I have proof. Would you like to see the surveillance footage from that morning?" At those words, the director collapsed to his knees, hanging his head in defeat. "All right, I admit it. I switched the contracts to frame you." The director had become desperate, believing that my cautious work style would hinder the company's sales and his own career advancement. That's why he came up with this plan. The director had ordered Joseph to take a sick day, pretending it was for health reasons. However, the director's miscalculations were not completely deleting the files and showing up early instead of late at night. The security guard mentioned that while many people work late, no one else comes in early in the morning except me, so it was memorable. Even if it was for his own promotion, deceiving so many people is unforgivable. President, it should be clear who really is unnecessary in this company. Yes, I am truly sorry. Thus, my name was cleared. Of course, my resignation was retracted, and I was reinstated. The director was dismissed for forgery of a private document with the company seal. To everyone's surprise, it was revealed that 3 years ago, he had also framed a colleague at the Midwest branch, forcing their resignation. His repeated misconduct was exposed, and he ended up divorcing his wife, who was the daughter of a wealthy family. Rumor had it that he married her to advance his career, but in his haste, he destroyed his own life. It's truly pitiful. His obsession with academic qualifications and his desire to climb the corporate ladder at the expense of others eventually caught up with him. Later, he failed to find another job and now lives quietly back in his rural hometown, working part-time at a grocery store. 3 years have passed since then. I am now 58 years old. After that incident, I successfully obtained the patent for the assignment given to me by the chairman. Currently, I am working at our branch in Florida, challenging my 27th patent. As always, I have declined numerous offers for the director position, choosing to remain a manager and hands-on leader. Learning from the incident 3 years ago, I now prioritize work-life balance and under my wife's care. I make sure to go home on time and cherish the time spent with her. The chairman retired a year ago and is reportedly enjoying his retirement at a senior home in Aspen. I will never forget his warm guidance and support throughout my career. The president, taking responsibility for the incident, volunteered to restart as the head of the HR department at the headquarters. He is now dedicated to fostering truly valuable talent for the company. My former subordinate, Joseph, asked to be mentored by me on patents and moved with me to the Florida branch. Seeing Joseph break out of his shell and grow as a person has been incredibly rewarding for me. Next month, he will be applying for his first patent. I look forward to watching his progress. Together, I am proud of having acted according to my principles. If I hadn't acted with courage back then, I wouldn't be who I am today. This fall, I look forward to meeting my first grandchild and being a sincere and honest grandfather. I plan to continue living with this in mind.